Hello and welcome to another episode of Starside Chat. I am one of your hosts, Aaron, and with me as always is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Good. It is very cold.
Very cold in the Midwest.
It seems as though the groundhog was not wrong when he said 6 more weeks of winter, because that's when all the winter seems to have come for the
it's
Midwest.
really hitting now. It has been not too snowy of a winter where I'm at, but
It's gotten very snowy here.
Yeah.
We had this last week, I think it was on Wednesday, like everybody I knew was like working from home.
Yeah.
Because it was just a lot
very
of
true.
snow.
But if they were working from home, they might not have been playing PlayStation, because there was a huge PlayStation outage that everyone was talking about.
I think that situation was solved by then, but yeah, so this last week, we didn't get to record this last weekend because I was out of town, but yeah, there was a big network outage, and I was dog sitting for my sister, and I took my PlayStation with me, foolishly thinking that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna, play some Marvel Rivals or whatever, I'm just gonna chill out and play some stuff on PlayStation. And then I come to find out that there's this massive network outage happening, and you couldn't sign in. I did end up playing, because I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, but I had restarted Pentiment. I was doing another playthrough of that. And so I was able to play that, even though PlayStation Network was not working. I know some people were complaining that, like, even if you had a disc for a game, if you put it in your console, it needed to like ping the servers, I guess.
Oh.
And because PlayStation Network was down, you couldn't even play some of your like offline games. And so there was like a lot of complaints about like, this is like, I don't know, the future of console gaming doesn't look great when if there's ever a network outage, you can't even play an offline game. Fortunately, that didn't happen to me because Pentiment was fine to play without the network, but it did eventually come back later in the day, and so I was still able to keep myself entertained while dog sitting.
And they never said why it went down, did they? There was never like a post-op of...
Yeah, I don't think there was an official, hey, this is what happened, and they were like, they tried to say, hey, you can have like a free amount of time for PlayStation Network or whatever because of this outage or whatever, but it was not a response. People were like, oh yeah, this feels good. But yeah, it's been a while since we had a massive outage like that, and they were silent on it for like basically throughout the entire thing, which was crazy to me. But so I don't know if that hit you at all.
Didn't have any trouble playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I have been playing a lot of, and I'll have much to talk about. But
I'm very excited to hear.
I don't have a disc version of it or whatever. It's downloaded to my console, so maybe that helped. But
yeah, I wonder if that's no, that shouldn't be. I don't know why it would, but yeah, I don't know. But
no, it played great.
Well, that's good. Speaking of things that might play good, a patent has basically confirmed Nintendo Switch's Nintendo Switch 2's Joy-Con used as a wireless mouse feature. It appears as though I saw this on Insider Gaming. They had an article about how patents were discovered that seemed to explain the feature, provided drawings of the mouse functionality, and which, I mean, we saw images from that trailer, that teaser that they had, where you could tell it was like an optical sensor. So it definitely seems to imply that you're going to use it as a mouse.
Which
I'm very
I love.
Curious. I think it's a cool idea. I'm very curious how it's going to work in standard practice. Because again, most of the time when you think of like using a console, you're sitting on like a couch. And so like, how do you... let me use my Joy-Con as a mouse. You gotta reach forward onto your coffee table or something.
I think it's gonna feel like nothing we've ever felt before, because typically when you're going around in a game, like let's say a first-person game, your left thumb is moving around and your right thumb is looking around. But with this, it's all going to be on one hand. Like if you're able to play like Metroid Prime 4 this way, which I don't know why you wouldn't be able to. Maybe that's asking too much, but you're going to be looking around with a mouse, but also there will be an analog stick on that Joy-Con. I guess you could also have the other Joy-Con be the
one of the drawings that they had, there was like some visuals that came along with this article, and one of them shows in your left hand you're using the Joy-Con normally, where you're holding it upright and you've got your left thumb on the left thumbstick and you're moving it around, and then in your right hand you're holding the Joy-Con down on the table like a mouse.
That sounds great to me. I think this will be cool. I can't wait to see them. I hope that Balatro makes an appearance at their like big reveal thing, because that's the perfect game to showcase. I mean, I guess Civilization 7 is also a pretty mouse heavy game, but I've never played Balatro with like a controller. Have you?
Yeah, it actually controls surprisingly well. Like you'd be really surprised how well they adapted the controls for controller.
Interesting. I wish they had cross save across all things.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I'm into this though. I can't wait to see what types of games this unlocks. I think that we'll definitely get a Mario Maker remaster, or at least maybe a new Mario Maker,
cool.
Where, I mean, it's going to be so much easier to design things with a mouse. And I also, what do you think about this? Do you think this mouse only has one click button, or do you think it will have a right click?
Well, so there are like two shoulder buttons, so it's very possible you could get a left and right click.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, it definitely opens the door for, I feel like, a lot of stuff that you maybe wouldn't have seen come to Switch in the past, now that they sort of have basically a mouse option. But
I'm into it. I can't wait for April. I'm
very curious if we see like third party, like basically actual mice that come to the Switch 2 that you can use. So yeah,
I would love it, and I would buy it day one.
Be very cool. Do you want to take a guess as to where Luigi's Mansion 4 would take place? So this is a thing I saw in Nintendo Life. They put together an article that I thought would be fun to sort of go through as like a discussion of, you know, what would be our ideal setting for Luigi's Mansion 4? Because Luigi's Mansion 1 is just like a mansion. Luigi's Mansion 2 is like multiple mansions. Luigi's Mansion 3 is obviously a giant like hotel resort place with like many floors to it. And so they put together this article saying, okay, here are possible settings that Nintendo could be cooking up for the next Luigi's Mansion. Number one, they have a cruise ship.
A great idea.
Yeah, like basically a floating hotel. Where you would have many floors. I think that could be a really fun way to go. Yeah, like a haunted cruise ship. But
yeah.
Number two, they have Isle Delfino. So bringing back the setting from Mario Sunshine, but
tropical.
Yeah, tropical, but making it haunted and sort of nighttime. I think
I mean, I feel like a resort is a logical next step after a hotel, because a resort or like a theme park type thing will have different. You're always going to have a place that has different worlds you go to, or different zones.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how they do that. We're sort of going to get to another setting that basically fulfills that really well further down the list. But number three, they have Bowser's Castle.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you could have enemies other than ghosts show up if you went to like Bowser's Castle. I think this is maybe the least likely of the options.
Yeah, I think that pigeonholes it too much to be in one. I mean, because I don't know how much you can theme Bowser's Castle.
Yeah, I don't know.
To different themes.
It's possible that maybe it would be like one location. If they did sort of a Luigi's Mansion 2 sort of thing where you have multiple castles and one of them happens to be, or multiple mansions and one of them happens to be Bowser's Castle, basically.
Yeah.
But that's sort of kind of a similar idea to the next one, which would be a village. So basically, instead of, one mansion or it being sort of it could almost be like an overworld, basically, where you have like an actual village that you're going through. And within that, you would have, I guess, multiple mansions or places you could go in. And maybe one of them could be sort of a spooky hotel again, but just not the size of the Luigi's Mansion 3 one. Number 5, they have Coconut Mall, which I think is a Mario Kart level and possibly also a Mario Party level. But basically, it turns a shopping mall into sort of a spooky horror location. And
a mall is interesting.
Yeah. Because there again, you have the possibility of multiple styles of areas you could go into. It's basically sort of the hotel idea, but more horizontal rather than vertical. And then
I'm into this.
Number 6 is space. So basically like Super Mario Galaxy, but with a Luigi's Mansion theme to it. Which, I think this one is among the least likely, but it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, this would definitely open you up for different worlds, but I don't know. I wonder if they would do interesting stuff with, like, gravity. That would be crazy.
Yeah, it would. I think a space, even if it was like a giant sort of, some sort of starship, where it's like basically the Starship Enterprise, but it's become haunted and somehow Luigi is there. I think that could be interesting. But I feel like if they were going to do that, they would probably keep it grounded a little bit. But
yeah.
Number 7 is New Donk City. So
that would be
basically
cool.
Take the Super Mario Odyssey location, but make it so that you can go into buildings maybe, or you could even explore like the outdoors as sort of maybe an overworld type of thing.
Yeah, you could do like a Central Park area. You could do like an arts district. There's potential for a New Donk City, I feel like.
Yeah, could be interesting to sort of reuse that location, but in Luigi's Mansion as opposed
flesh it out a little more.
Yeah, as opposed to Mario. Number 8, I think this one's really fun and interesting, is Super Nintendo World. So basically taking the amusement park that they've built in Japan, and I think maybe they've opened their one in California as well, but basically take that idea, but take away all the guests and have it be haunted by ghosts, and Luigi's got to get rid of them all. That could be fun. It would be, I think, more fun if they had already built additional worlds that you could go to, because right now it's just the Magic Kingdom, Mushroom Kingdom, and
Donkey Kong Town, or whatever it's called.
So if they had some other ones in there, I think maybe, I mean, it could still be fun even just with those two. I mean, imagine going around Donkey Kong Land as Luigi and trying to suck up sort of Donkey Kong themed ghosts. That could be fun, but
yeah, mine carts and stuff. That would be cool.
Yeah. What if there was a level on a mine cart? That would be crazy. Or it's just like an amusement park ride of some sort that was like haunted and you were trying to suck up ghosts along the way. Number 9, they have an abandoned prison, which kind of...
Yeah, this one I don't think is likely.
This is another one that I don't think is likely at all. But those are their suggestions, and I think they're all fun and interesting. Again, there's like 2 or 3 in there that I think are not likely, but the rest of them I think are really fun to think about. So
I think the most likely one out of these is cruise ship. I think that's an excellent like A to B from hotel. Mm-hmm. I also think Super Mario Land is not out of the realm of possibility, because I think in like any sort of theme park would also be a good next step, where, because that's like, that lends itself so well to like, here's like the haunted house zone you start in, but here's also like ancient Egypt world or whatever.
Yeah, which is basically
both of these.
Everybody talked about Luigi's Mansion 3 as if it was an amusement park where every floor was its own themed world, and so that's a logical next step would just to be set it in an actual amusement park where you have different themed lands you're going to. So,
do you think that Luigi will return?
I think so, because one, they probably want to preserve some form of co-op, but also it just like is a fun mechanic that it would be odd for them to abandon at this point. But
I always wanted them to update his character in Smash Brothers to include Luigi, but they never did.
Or even just like make Luigi a skin that you could use.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
But anyway, I thought that was just a fun sort of speculative type of thing to go through, since we both love Luigi's Mansion, and that happened to come out over the last week or two. But
I wonder when the next one. I wonder if in 2026 we'll get a new Luigi's Mansion. They have to be working on it.
Yeah, I mean, you would think the next Mario game would come out before the next Luigi's Mansion, but it could be that they are working on both of those somewhere.
It's true.
They're going to get us new versions of both of those games on the Switch 2 once it comes out. Now, I don't know a lot about this next one, but I do think it's interesting because I do still have a soft spot for Battlefield, but they introduced a thing called Battlefield Labs, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is like sort of like an early access type of, hey, help us test out the next iteration of Battlefield.
They want feedback for their design, basically.
Yeah. So they have not officially confirmed that it will be called Battlefield 6, but that's what people are calling it right now. But basically it confirms, hey, the next Battlefield is in the works and on the way. They sort of have this thing where they'll release a new Battlefield and it will be not well liked because it's kind of buggy and doesn't feel finished. And then over time, they keep adding to it and keep working on it. And eventually it becomes, it gets to a point where people are not necessarily like over the moon for it, but it is functional enough that they can enjoy playing it because they like Battlefield. But they also have like some of the previous Battlefields, like Battlefield 3 and 4, that people are still playing instead of 2042 was the most recent. But I liked Battlefield 2042. It is chaotic, but I thought it was still fun to play some of. But I also didn't play it at launch, so I don't have like the sort of negative feelings that I think a lot of people had when that game came out.
Yeah. I've seen that sentiment where you just need to like let it cook for a while and then it eventually becomes a pretty good game.
Yeah, it's almost to a point where I would say when the next Battlefield comes out, unless you're like a super fan for Battlefield, don't play it at launch. Just give them like basically 6 months to a year to work on fixes and updates before you even try to dive in. Or like if it is available on like Game Pass or something where you don't have to buy it, but you can try it, maybe take that route. But speaking of like next versions of popular online shooters, tell me all about potentially Apex Legends 2.0.
They have for a long time at EA been saying that Apex Legends is not meeting their expectations. They want it to be more popular and earning more money and whatever. And so in that, for that reason, the CEO came out and said that they have plans to kind of expand Apex Legends with significant updates to the player experience. And basically, they're developing a major 2.0 update for Apex Legends in response to these, what they call declining revenues. So it's not going to be an Apex Legends 2, I don't think, but it will be a significant gameplay change. And who knows what that means. But they want it to be earning more money is, I guess, the driving force for this. So hopefully that doesn't mean they're redoing how microtransaction works. Hopefully it means that they are making so many changes that people are like, oh man, this is like a whole new game. I got to check this out again. But I really don't know what this could mean. But they have said it's not going to be happening until after Battlefield 6 comes out, or whatever that's called. So it's going to be a while. But hopefully that means that there will be time for them to make this really cool. There'll be a lot of time with them to play test and figure out exactly what they want to do with it. It won't be rushed. But I haven't played Apex Legends in quite some time, but it is still downloaded on my Xbox. And I have thought about, they have made some changes to LOBA that I wanted to check out, but yeah, when was the last time you played Apex Legends? Is this interesting to you? Would this get you back in?
It depends on what it is. It's like it's been a long time since I've played Apex Legends.
Yeah.
I think it can be a fun game, but I don't even typically when I play, unless I'm playing with you, I don't typically play the Battle Royale mode anyway. I typically will play one of their more standard like team deathmatch or like control style modes that they have, because I prefer that style of game. But I a little bit, like outside of Fortnite, I a little bit wonder if the battle royale genre is sort of starting to wane.
Yeah, you don't see many more of them these days. I mean, well, there's Elden Ring Night Rain that's coming out, but that's not really a battle royale.
Yeah, I thought that was more of a co-op.
There's a shrinking circle that happens, but that's pretty much the only thing it has in common with battle royales.
Yeah, and I don't know how PUBG is doing these days, but good question. There are probably some of those, like I don't know how well Apex is doing. I can only, like, I've heard that it's losing its player base, but I mean, I don't know how well it's doing otherwise. Obviously, they're trying to get some sort of big update to get people to come back to it, but I do wonder if maybe battle royale is, as like a genre, is sort of losing its luster, and people are moving on to games like Marvel Rivals and I don't know.
Let me throw this at you. What if they lean into it being a Titanfall universe game, and 2.0 is finally the introduction of Titans into Apex Legends?
Yeah, that could be interesting. It would shake things
up. And
up.
Every legend has its specific Titan.
Man, that would be crazy. And that would be like a huge update. And I think that probably would bring people back, because I think people did want that for a long time. But
yeah, they've always been asking for that.
But how do you balance that in a battle royale? Like, whoever's first to get their Titan, like, it's game over at that point, probably. But
you would have to be very intentional about level design, where you would need some places where Titans just couldn't fit, and that would have to make sense for closing circles. I don't know. It would be it's a very interesting challenge to solve, a gameplay challenge to solve, if you could make that work. But I think that could definitely bring people back in. I mean, you could. I want to say that, like, everyone would still have like an ultimate that they would charge up and use regularly. So I don't know how they would control Titans being available, but it's so interesting to think about. I mean, what they want is Titanfall 3, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Maybe it is. Maybe they're working on it. But if Titans could come to Apex Legends, I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, and speaking of Titans and all of that, I didn't really think about it before, but what's his name? The guy from Respawn who made Titanfall and Apex Legends.
Oh, I don't know.
That guy is, whatever his name is, everybody knows it. I don't have to say it, but he is working on the next Battlefield, which I think is why they're saying this is not going to happen until after the next Battlefield. But so that's interesting to me. And how do they, because these are both EA titles, how do they keep them differentiated enough? Like, I don't think the next Battlefield game is going to have this big battle royale mode, basically, is what I'm saying. But do they reintroduce sort of the Titanfall style wall running?
Now that's also interesting. Yeah, the movement of, wait, is there I'm trying to remember if there's a legend that has wall running as one of their features.
They might. I know, like, you can slide super far, and that's like a big thing, but like, I don't know the wall running aspect of it. But
they have added 2 legends, I think, since we stopped playing. One of whom can go through walls, which is an interesting feature. I don't know. I might. I've a little bit been feeling the itch to play Apex Legends again because of this news, so I might have you download it again and we can play it. But we'll see what happens. I mean, unfortunately, I think it is going to be a while before this 2.0 update, because they have to do Battlefield 6 first. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we'll keep an eye on it.
We'll keep an eye on it. I have two other things I'd like for you to keep an eye on.
Okay.
In different zones, I was served ads for two different things that are happening concurrently, and they're both games that look like retro SimCity clones, or not clones, but they're just like in that style. And so I wanted to highlight both of them. The first one is available there's a demo out now on Steam. It's called Metropolis 1998, and it does look like a classic SimCity game, where you're like building a city. And I don't know, this is coming to early access soon. There's a demo you can check out now. There's a planned Q4 2025 release. But if you're someone who craves classic SimCity vibes, this is, I think, something that you will get a lot of love or get a lot of enjoyment out of. Did you ever play classic SimCity games or Sim Tower or Sim Ant or stuff like that?
I didn't get into those as much. I played a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon though, and the art style I think reminds me a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon. So the other one, and it's crazy that I got both of these in this because this is very similar. The other one is like SimCity, but it's more car focused. So this one is all about just like making a car-filled city that's just like basically all parking lots. But there's like unique challenges with that. But very similar art styles in both of them and very like classic retro SimCity vibes. This one, I don't know if there's any sort of release calendar for it. But yeah. This one is called Car Park Capital, and the other one is Metropolis 1998. So take a look at those two if you're looking for some retro vibes. Well, let's talk about very modern vibes. What if I told you that there were 5 new levels coming to Astrobot?
I would be shocked, but I did play one of them.
Yeah, so they're releasing them weekly, which is an interesting style. It's sort of like...
I think every Thursday?
Yeah. And so the first one is already out. As we're recording this. The second one has not come out yet. First one's called TikTok Shock. So you already played this level?
I played it, Zach. Unfortunately, hopefully this will not be the case with all the levels, but it is the type of level in Astrobot that I don't really care for. It's the type of level where there's no checkpoints, and it's basically do this as fast as you can. And it's just basically a gauntlet, as opposed to exploration and just like a cool zone to take a look at. So I did eventually beat it, but yeah, it was basically just like it wasn't a slog, but at one point I was like, man, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, because I would get so close and then I would die. Because I forgot, the main thing I kept forgetting is like what flowers did. Like you pick up a flower and then you have to hit like the punch button for it to jump you up.
Oh yeah.
And that was at like the very end of the level. I had to figure that out, but hopefully they will not all be these like time trial race, no checkpoint things, but maybe they will be. If they will be, I still will probably play them.
I was going to say, I'm looking at the PlayStation blog announcing these levels, and it says brand new special bots to rescue and time attack mode with online ranking starting today. Yeah. So I assume they will all be that same style of time attack style levels, which...
Still great that they're putting stuff out. I mean, they're giving out so much content for this.
Yeah, so many free levels that they've added. Like they already added that winter place that you can go, which was great.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then they had another series of like 5 levels or something like that were also, they were sort of like speed run style levels. But I would love it.
The Winter Wonderland was awesome.
I would love it if they just added like another galaxy of like, 5 or 6 levels that you could play that were in the standard, main Astrobot levels that you could play through, as opposed to these like difficult time trial. You have to no checkpoints. You got to nail it just right. I wish they would add like the standard levels, but these are great too. I'll probably jump in and play them at some point. I don't know if I'll do the, streaming service thing of waiting for all of them to come out so I can just play them all back to back to back. Yeah. But very cool that they are adding those. But speaking of PlayStation, we have an entire PlayStation State of Play to talk about. I don't know how much of it you want to go through, but We can talk about some
I
of it.
highlighted 2 things I'd like to talk about, and we could talk about more stuff if you want to, but probably the most interesting thing to me is there is that Hell Is Us game that we saw maybe at the Summer Games Fest, or I forget where we saw the first trailer for it, but it's a cool vibe, kind of a post-apocalyptic future, these like faceless white alien type things you're facing off against. You're a guy who is wearing some sort of cloak and has a drone type of thing and a cool laser sword. And they did a trailer for this and they revealed it's coming out on September 4th this year. And I was watching that trailer and there was narration over it. And I was like, man, the person doing this narration sounds so familiar to me. And sure enough, it is the guy who voiced Adam Jensen in the Deus Ex games. I was like, man, that's crazy. Because also, I think one of the like art directors or something from Deus Ex Human Revolutions is working on this game. But I think I'm going to check this out. I love the vibe of it. And I like that guy's voice, the Adam Jensen voice. Nobody asked for this, as he classically said, or I didn't ask for this. But yeah, Hell Is Us is the thing I'm most interested in, and I'm glad it's coming out this year. I guess, do you want to trade off? What was something you were interested in?
Well, I was going to mention the new Housemarque game as well. I know that was the other one that you had, but I don't know how you pronounce it, but it looks like Saros. Saros. But it seems like it looks kind of similar to Returnal. It's hard to say whether gameplay-wise it'll be similar to Returnal because it's just a cinematic trailer that they had. But the IGN article that lists all the different games that were shown during the State of Play says that there will be permanent progression systems and every death reshapes the world while offering new upgrades to overcome challenges. So it does sound like it'll still be a sort of Returnal.
It kind of sounds like Returnal.
Yeah. Similar style game, roguelike. So yeah, I'm curious about it. I keep thinking, every once in a while I'll be like, you know what, I should go back and try to get back into Returnal because I played it.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you, Zach, is because I now own a PlayStation 5 and I was wondering, should I play Returnal?
You might be into it. I know you can enjoy a roguelike like that, but it came out I guess when I got my PS5 and I picked up a copy of Returnal with it, it was like a weird time where I was in the middle of a bunch of other games, and so I didn't end up playing very much of it. But I always thought it was cool and that I should jump back in and give it another shot and see if I can make it further, but have not gotten around to it yet. So I don't know. I think if you can find it on like a sale or like a used copy of it even, you probably would enjoy it.
Maybe I'll check it out. I'm still hip deep in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at this moment, but we'll talk about that in a second. Is there anything else you wanted to highlight from the State of Play?
Yeah, I did think Onimusha looked cool. Like, I never played the other Onimusha games. I don't know how many there were even in the past. But this is not coming until 2026, so I don't know that we will see anything about it, between now and I guess the start of next year. But
that's true for Saros as well, or whatever the Housemarque, however you pronounce it. That's coming out in 2026 also, supposedly.
Yeah. But the art style looked cool, and I can't even describe to you what I think the enemies look like if you watch this trailer. But yeah, it looked pretty cool. It seems like maybe it's got a sense of humor as well, so it's not like super serious. But
well, speaking of not being serious, I know we talked about it before we started recording, but there's that octopus game that looks cool.
Yeah, what was that called again?
I don't remember.
Let me scroll down to it.
But it looked like, you rightfully said, it looks like kind of Inside vibes.
Yeah. Darwin's Paradox.
Yes.
It looks very much like Inside, except you're playing an octopus, and so you can sort of stealth by like blending in to your environment so people can't see you.
And you can shoot ink as well.
Yeah. So I'm very curious about that game. I think that game looked pretty cool. They also showed Lost Soul Aside. I know this one didn't do it for you, but I thought it kind of looked interesting. It's sort of vaguely Final Fantasy looking, but and then I thought Shinobi, the sort of 2D side-scrolling game, looked cool as well. Very cool art style to that. And people will be excited about the DLC coming for Lies of P, which is another game.
Yeah, that game had a big pop, I think, because it was on Game Pass.
Yeah, I mean, after I finished Black Myth Wukong, I was like, maybe I should go back and play Lies of P, because everybody was super hot on that game. And every time I finish another sort of Souls-like style game, I'm like, oh yeah, now's my time. Let's get into another one. And then it just doesn't happen. But yeah, there was some cool stuff in this state of play. But a lot of stuff I don't know is for me. Like, I don't really care about Five Nights at Freddy's, or what was that? It's like 80-20 something.
Directive, like 80-20. Yeah, so that one we were talking before we started recording. I thought that was a sequel to whatever that game series is, that there's been two of them, I think, where the premise is it's like a horror movie, and you're kind of playing through it and making decisions. And then like people in the horror movie die or whatever. There's one at a cabin. I think there's another one maybe at a cruise ship, but it is not that. But it does look like a very horror focused game that I couldn't tell who the main character was or what even the gameplay was. That's why I thought it was maybe a sequel to that game.
The Quarry is what it's called, and Until Dawn is the other one. I just looked.
Yes, Until Dawn. Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Pictures.
But it is not an Until Dawn.
Dark Pictures anthology. So it's part of that group of games. It's just like a sci-fi version.
Wait, is it part of that?
It's part of the Dark Pictures anthology.
Oh, well then there you go. Then we know how it plays. So yeah, I think this is a cool idea because they've been on Earth the last two games, but now you're doing like a sci-fi one. Yeah. I didn't realize it was part of that, so that's cool, I think.
Yeah. I haven't played the other ones. I don't see myself playing this one. I'm not super into like horror stuff, so
nor am I.
This is not really my cup of tea, but it is that time of the show where we get into what we are playing and watching, and I'm very excited this week because you've been playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
That's right, Zach. I am about 15 hours in. Would you like to take a guess at what chapter I'm on?
Oh gosh. Have you made it to Costa del Sol?
No.
So
I just got to Junon.
I'm trying to remember the order of things now.
So I spent a lot of time in the first open world zone, the grasslands. And then eventually I was just like, I need to progress the story. This is great, but I need to keep going. And so I went through the caves, the Mithril Mines, and then I came out of the caves. And then now I did a couple of things in the Junon area, or Junon, or however you say it, Junon.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I can't keep doing all these open world things. I gotta just beeline for the story.
You hit that mark a little before I did even. I think I still tried to do all the open world stuff for at least like the first probably 3 or 4 zones, which I think does include Costa del Sol. I'm trying to remember.
I'm excited to get there. I'm excited to get to those segues and play around with those.
Yeah, it just gets to a point where there's too much to do and too much going on, and you're like, and all you really want to do is keep progressing the story, and it's like, no, I don't care about going to this tower or whatever, collecting mushrooms or whatever you do.
And I was worried because I was like, I wonder if this is going to negatively come back at me. But I got through the mines, and then I got to basically the second zone, and I started like fighting the monsters. It was still very easy because I am playing on easy mode, which I think is the way to do it if you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, I do recommend that.
And so I was not penalized for not doing all of the stuff. And I do like that you can jump back to previous zones if you want to. You can't just fast travel at all times. And because it's on PS5, it's very quick to load. So basically the only like side event thing I did in Junon area is get a chocobo. And then I did like the very obvious climbing wall that they walk you past. But I just got Yuffie into my group. So now I'm about to go up I'm gonna go up and do Junon stuff, which is exciting to me. But
nice.
I was in the grasslands for so long. I was just like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I don't know that this is like impacting me at all. So I just decided to progress. And I'm glad that it probably would have affected things if I was playing on normal or hard, but playing on easy, it really just lets you play the story, which is great.
Yeah, there are some side quests in those zones that you probably still do want to do because they're very.
What would you recommend?
They're very like character related as far as like side quests for your characters. You do get like some dialogue and stuff in there. So
I do. Whenever I'm just like in a zone where everyone's walking around, everyone still has the like super neutral emoticon above their head because they don't really care about me.
Yeah, I don't know how long it takes to start building up some of that, but doing some of those side quests are a little bit they will a little bit build your relationship with some of the side characters because they'll like like one of them will care about this side quest in this zone, and so if you do that, you'll build your relationship with them a little bit. So it is worth doing.
I gotta jump back.
It is worth doing some of that, but there's a lot of side stuff in there that
I need to look at a guide of like these are the missions you actually should do.
Yeah, like watching a very lengthy anime, and you're like, okay, which are the
non-filler episodes?
Which are the non-filler episodes? So I can skip stuff and sort of beeline my way through the story, but
I'm loving it. I think it's great. I also for a period of time was playing with headphones, and just like the music in that game is like, especially when I got to the Mithril Mines, I was just like, man, the remix of this song is amazing. And that happens a lot. Like the first time I heard the world map music from the old game was amazing, and I'm excited to get to Costa del Sol and hear that music. It's just like they spent so much time on all the soundscapes. It's great.
Yeah, the music is great. Like I said, like story, universe, music, and character wise, it was like top tier game of the year level stuff for me. It was just all the other stuff around it that kind of dragged it down a little bit. But
yeah, so
there's definitely a lot to love about that game. But I guess we'll see as you keep going.
I'll keep going. I'll let you know.
Yeah. What is the next thing you have in here?
I rewatched a classic movie that I love, and I'm wondering if you have watched it and loved it as well. I watched for probably like the 20th time a movie called Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh yeah, it's been a while, but yeah, I like that movie.
I love Buckaroo Banzai, and I was reminded back when in college, my friend and I would watch it all the time, and we were writing like a little remake of it, and it was a fun little brainstorming session we would do every once in a while. But I love Buckaroo Banzai, and not to spoil my parting wisdom, but it might involve Buckaroo Banzai.
The end scene of that movie where they're like all walking over the credits is inspired the ending for Wes Anderson's Life Aquatic, where they're all walking to the credits at the end.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I didn't ever think about that.
And funny enough, Jeff Goldblum was in both of those.
Oh, he's in both.
So yeah, a fun little factoid about that. But yeah,
if you haven't watched it, there's so much world building in it, and there's so many interesting things that they call out. It's such a well-written script, I feel like. There was going to be a second one, but then it never materialized for a lot of reasons. I was reading the Wikipedia article for it. But there's a comic book series, I think. But Peter Weller, a cool 80s actor.
Yeah, I was going to say, he was all over the 80s. So, yeah.
Did you, this was a couple of months ago. Was this last year? I don't remember when this was. But for a while, there was that clip going around from behind the scenes of RoboCop about that Oreo. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, I'm going to send you that after this. But a great clip of Peter Weller. But that's what I've been playing and watching. What have you been playing and watching?
Speaking of old things, not quite as old, but still old, I guess, in the video game space, I have been playing XCOM 2, or at least I started it. It's a game that I feel like came out, was that 360 generation? I'm playing it on PC, but I think it came out like during that time period, maybe. Either way, I've been meaning to play this game for a long time. And so I finally I don't know what got me in the mood for it, but I downloaded it and started playing it. And I've played XCOM-like games, but never XCOM. But I'm loving it, except I eventually, I played for a long time yesterday. It was basically my entire Saturday. I was just so hooked on it, playing the game. And I love how you're building up this base, but you're also every time you complete a level, you're getting promotions for your different characters, and you get to a point with them where you don't want to lose them because it is permadeath. So if the characters you have with you die, then they're gone, and you have to recruit new ones and try to level them up again as you go, which is a very I guess for my recognition's sake, similar to Fire Emblem. But also, I played, obviously, Mario and Rabbids. There's not permadeath in that one, but similar style game. And then, what is SteamWorld Heist and SteamWorld Heist 2? I was playing those. Those are 2D versions of an XCOM style game. But so I've played XCOM likes, but never actual XCOM. So it's been fun.
Did you ever play Did you ever play the original ones that were on old PC?
No.
They actually look very similar, to call back to something we talked about earlier. They're a very similar vibe to retro SimCity or Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Oh, really?
I never played them, but I watched a YouTube series where these two guys would play through the original, and one of them would do all the combat and one of them would do all the base building. So they would kind of trade off. Very fun to watch. And the old style graphics are very funny sometimes, but the new one I've heard is just an amazing, it's so much better than the original in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it is very cool. And I really enjoyed the style of it. I did hit a brick wall when I was playing last night though, where there's this type of enemy that's a sort of a humanoid serpent that can use this tongue lasso move where it can basically from a mile away grab one of your characters, pull them through walls. It doesn't respect there's no clipping, none of that. It just goes straight through, grabs somebody, pulls them straight through or whatever. You don't have to worry about any of that. And they will wrap up your character. And if you don't get your characters over there to shoot the thing within a turn or two, that character becomes unconscious and you can't use them anymore unless you find a way to revive them. And so those types of enemies are super annoying and frustrating, but there's a king version of that character that just pops up randomly in some of the levels you try to do. And it's super annoying because he gets to move after every single move that you do. So every character can basically do 2 moves. So you can
that sounds awful.
Move spaces and then fire a shot, or you can reload and then fire, or you can move. But after every single one of those moves, he gets a turn. And so he also has a ton of health. So he's very painful to deal with. But so I hit a brick wall where I cannot progress because I keep getting stuck, not being able to deal with that guy, and I basically lose all my characters, and I'm I don't want to do this. I try to reload and I just can't get through it, but I don't know, I'll try again at some point. But otherwise I've been enjoying that. Otherwise I also have been still playing Marvel Rivals. I'm progressing that battle pass, trying to unlock everything, but it's been fun. I think we're still waiting on the other 2 Fantastic Four characters to drop to be added, but
who's out right now?
From the Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
The Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic. We're still waiting on the Thing and the Flame guy. I don't know
the Human Flame.
Yeah, Human Flame. I don't know my Marvel characters very well. I sent you a clip of me playing Cloak and Dagger, which is a very powerful healer character who's also pretty good with DPS actually if you play her right. And I've never even heard of that character before. But it's fun to play in the game.
They seem to be two different people.
Yeah, you're swapping back and forth between the, I believe, cloak, or maybe it's dagger. I don't even know.
Who can say?
Who can say? That nobody knows. Nobody's ever heard of these characters before. But no, but yeah, it's a fun game. It's fun to test out the different characters, and I keep like they have challenges to earn points towards the battle pass, and they will very frequently be like, deal a certain amount of damage or get a certain amount of assists or get a certain amount of kills with, you know, you have like 4 different characters that you could pick to complete that with, or just swap back and forth between them to get that challenge done. And so it encourages me to try different characters. And so I keep finding different characters to try that I'm like, oh, this character is actually a lot of fun. I don't quite know what I'm doing yet with it, but it's very fun to play with that character. And so it just makes me want to, you know, branch out and try others. Whereas I feel like in Overwatch, it was very common for me to like rest on like, I would have like a handful of characters that like, those were the ones. Yeah, those were the ones that were like my mains, or the ones I was comfortable playing. And so I would just lean on those anytime like it was clear the team needed a healer or a tank or something. I was like, okay, I know which one I'm going to play because I understand that one. Whereas this game, I feel like it's much easier and much more fun to like, I don't know, find different characters to try out. And suddenly you're like, oh man, this character is actually really cool and really fun. But yeah, so that's Marvel Rivals. You said you had some parting wisdom?
Zach, I think everyone should watch Buckaroo Banzai. And more specifically, if you don't have time to watch a movie, just Google Robo Oreo and watch the first clip that comes up on YouTube. Because it's a great little 2-minute clip. But really, I think everyone should check out Buckaroo Banzai. It's a great movie, great 80s vibes, awesome props, awesome songs. Jeff Goldblum is in it, being a very cool guy. Yeah, that's my parting wisdom.
Isn't, oh gosh, what is his name? The guy who's sort of like the villain of it? What is his name again?
John Lithgow?
Yeah. So he plays like a crazy character.
Yeah, he has a crazy Italian accent.
He really chews the scenery in that movie.
Christopher Lloyd is also in it as like kind of a side bad guy.
I forgot about Christopher Lloyd being in that. Man, that movie has a lot of people in it.
A very cool movie, I think.
Yeah, very, very 80s sci-fi vibes. Kind of campy, but very fun. So yeah.
Check it out.
On that note, go ahead and follow the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and YouTube Music. And leave us comments and ratings, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.